Procrastination is the habit of delaying or putting off doing something that should be done right away. Everyone procrastinates. Sometimes when people procrastinate, they run the risk of jeopardizing their projects and their reputations. Procrastination also adds stress. Putting off tasks doesn't mean they disappear. Those unfinished jobs often weigh on people's minds. The last-minute scramble to complete a high-priority item creates chaos and increases the likelihood of errors. It's estimated that about 15 to 20% of the general population are habitual procrastinators. And the costs of procrastinating can add up well beyond poor work performance, especially for those who delay filling in their taxes or planning their retirement. Many of us take on more commitments and responsibilities than we can handle. We end up working nights and weekends to hit deadlines. In some cases, people feel that no matter what they do, they never catch up. You can manage this better by knowing your key responsibilities and goals. Avoid taking on activities that don't align with these objectives. If others aren't doing their jobs or aren't performing to your standards, support them in improving their performance rather than taking over their tasks. Don't assume everything has to be done. Concentrate your energy on tasks that truly matter. Learn to turn down assignments. Explain your current responsibilities and point out how taking on an unrelated task will jeopardize your shared goals, and offer a reasonable alternative. Admitting that you're prone to procrastination is a useful first step. There are 3 key obstacles to getting started for many procrastinators. The task is unpleasant, you fear failure, or you don't know where to start. When you have a task to do that is unpleasant or uninteresting, consider delegating the task to someone who doesn't find it unpleasant. It's important to admit you're procrastinating and then get the job done. Envision how good you'll feel once you've completed the task. Schedule the task in a way that makes turning back impossible or costly. Consider the impact of not completing the task on your colleagues or on your other projects. When you are frightened to start a task because you think you'll fail, ask for the help you need. If you lack the training or resources needed to complete an assignment, ask for help. If your fear stems from a lack of self-confidence, diffuse it by listing all the tasks you have to do to complete the job. You'll likely find that you know how to do most of them. Start with something you know. Any kind of movement on the task will help dispel fear. When there is an unclear starting point, start anywhere. Jump in anywhere. You'll likely find a productive way forward. Break a difficult or overwhelming task down into small, manageable ones. At the end of the day, spend a few minutes on a task that you want to work on the next morning. For example, you may jot down some notes about a report you need to write. The next day, you'll probably find it easier to continue working on the project than if you hadn't already started it. Sometimes the task is so large and daunting that you feel like you have to take a run-up before you can begin to tackle it. You pause before you start your run-up and take a handful of deep breaths. Too often that pause lasts longer than it should. Before you know it, days or even weeks have flown by and you are running out of time. You still have to tackle the big job, but now you're up against an approaching deadline and feeling the pressure. Taking it one barrel at a time is a great way to think about large tasks in order to get yourself going and start making real progress. In his book, Brian Tracy tells a story about crossing the Sahara Desert. The desert was 500 miles across in a single stretch, without water, without food, and totally flat. Over the years, hundreds of people had perished in the crossing of that stretch of the Sahara when the sands had hidden the track and the travellers had got lost. So, to create landmarks, the army had marked the track with large black oil drums, 5 kilometres apart. They were set at exactly the distance to the horizon, so wherever you were in the daytime you could see 2 oil barrels, the one you had just passed and the one 5 kilometres ahead. All you had to do to cross safely was to steer toward the next oil barrel. So, you were able to cross the biggest desert in the world by simply taking it one oil barrel at a time. Using this approach allows you to break a daunting task down into manageable sections. You can accomplish the job much more easily, not by thinking of the whole, but by focusing your attention on each part, each 5-kilometre section between the barrels. It is very helpful to be able to see the next barrel in the distance and to know what it looks like. But once you've worked out what the goal is and crafted it, you can ignore the goal as a whole and target on completing the individual stretches, one oil barrel at a time. Using the barrel approach can help you make the task feel more manageable. And there are many other ways you can use to avoid a procrastination. Here are 3 tried and tested approaches: applying knowledge of biorhythms, using mental cues, and eating frogs. When is the best time of your day, of your week, of your year? When are you at your best? Then shouldn't you be doing your best work then? And when are you at your worst? Surely that is the time to do the things that are less important. We all have natural rhythms, highs and lows. Tapping into this and understanding your own personal highs and lows is essential to getting the best for the time. We are most likely to procrastinate when we have low energy. I wake up every day at 6 a.m. Too early, but I am awake. By 11 a.m. I'm full of energy and creativity. By 3 in the afternoon I have low energy. But by 6 in the evening the energy is back, and so on. So if I have anything really critical to do, 11 a.m. is the best time to do it. We have daily rhythms, weekly rhythms and monthly rhythms. Some of us suffer from a lack of light in the winter and need some warm sunshine to be at our best. Others suffer in the summer from pollen. When are you at your best and at your worst? Start to understand your natural rhythms and use this to your advantage. Industry also has natural rhythms. Trying to get anything done first thing on a Monday or last thing on a Friday will always be a challenge, because this is the time most other employees are either winding up or winding down. Before 9 or after 5 can also be a challenge to make things happen, because the majority of people will be travelling. Throughout the year there are highs and lows. In April, August and December, people take lots of holidays and it's hard to get people together to complete work. However, fewer people take leave in January and September, and these are good months to get a full house. When you plan your workload, think about these natural rhythms and how they will affect your plans. Plan to do your important work when you have the most energy. Don't plan key tasks that need other people into the times of the week, the month or the year when people are less likely to be available. Work around this. We can use mental cues or calls to action to help manage our time and prevent procrastination. There are 3 cues that can be used. They are: do it now. What is the best use of my time right now? What would my hero do? When Alan Lakin first wrote about time management in the 1970s, people would keep a sign on their desks with "Do it now" written on it. It's the mantra of successful people and uses a mental cue to prevent procrastination. Many tasks that people tend to procrastinate on aren't really difficult to do. People have the ability, energy and time to undertake these tasks, but they're just not disciplined enough not to dodge starting them for one reason or another. If you can do something right now in the moment without having to close it and then reopen it again later, get it done now. If a task will take a few minutes to complete, you do it now. It doesn't really matter if the task will take 2 minutes or 5. If you have time to do it right now, get on top of it. The do it now rule works for 2 key reasons. First, it prevents procrastination, and second, finishing even a small task builds a sense of productivity and momentum. I'm getting stuff done, which can lead you into getting the bigger things done that might be more challenging. The second mental cue is, what is the best use of my time right now? This question stops us doing what we shouldn't be doing and tackles procrastination. You should ask this question when you've been interrupted from your work to get back on track. Because we know it can take an extra 15 minutes to get back into a task after an interruption. Ask it when you're torn between two important projects. Which project is the best use of your time right now? Use it when you don't know where to start, because the best use of your time is just to start somewhere, anywhere. Ask it when you're confused. Ask it when you're being a perfectionist. Ask it when you have 10 minutes to spare, because you can use that 10 minutes to poke a hole in your Swiss cheese. Ask it when you're tired and emotional, because the best use of your time right now is to go home and to get some rest. Ask it when you're making errors, because then the best use of your time is to get some rest. Ask it when you're planning to stay a couple of extra hours to do some work. Remember, in 10 years you will look back and ask what made you waste all of your evenings at work. Number 3 is about your hero. Who is your real life hero? The person you aspire to, the person you want to be like. The third mental cue is to put yourself in someone else's shoes and consider what they would do. Most heroes are famous for what they did, the action they took. They don't become heroes by sitting around and putting things off. So, when you start to procrastinate, ask yourself, what would my hero do in this situation? And perhaps that different perspective will push you into action. To avoid procrastination, start each day by eating a live frog. Sounds disgusting. The frog, of course, is a metaphor. The basic idea is that you do the worst thing on your plate first thing in the morning, and then the rest of the day is easier. So if your least favourite chore is the laundry, and it's one of the items on your to-do list today, then you tackle it first. That way you can spend the rest of your day knowing you've done the most irritating task. There may be some other things that annoy you, but in knowing you've accomplished the worst one already, you've got fuel and motivation to do the less painful items. And of course, if you should do your least favourite task first, that means you should avoid doing your most favourite task, or at least your easiest task first. We've all had those mornings where we start with great intentions, but then we first check our email and get caught up in worthless noise. 2 hours later and your enthusiasm is gone, along with the valuable time you could have used getting stuff done. Somehow this sets a tone for the rest of the day, and we approach our tasks reluctantly, with a poor attitude, or simply with less passion. So start by identifying the things you really need to do today, those tasks which will lead to a successful day. Out of those things, pick the worst one. Then do that task first. Make that your frog. Okay, so there are some easy ways to start to control your procrastination. And there are many, many more. The worksheet accompanying this session has many more options that can be used to help you beat procrastination. So, do it now. Download the worksheet. It will take 30 seconds. What is the best use of your time right now? Well, perhaps it will be to identify the frog you will eat for breakfast tomorrow. Good luck.